I signed the contract 3 weeks after we met. £500,000, a Seoul penthouse, a trust fund for my daughter worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. In exchange, I became Mrs. Baek Do-yoon, wife to a man in a wheelchair who needed an heir before the Lunar New Year gala, or he'd lose an empire worth billions. People thought I was desperate. They were right. What they didn't know was that desperation makes you sharp. It makes you notice things other people miss, like the way Do-yoon rotated his watch when he was thinking, or how his cousin Ji-hwan smiled too perfectly, or how the family driver, Mr. Kang, heard everything but never spoke. I was 3 months pregnant when we met at a London art exhibition. The father of my baby had disappeared to Singapore the day I told him. My savings were gone. My job was gone. Your pride was the only thing I had left. Do-yoon offered me a way out, a business arrangement, 2 years of marriage, public appearances, then a quiet divorce and financial security for life. It sounded simple. It wasn't, because what I discovered about his past, about his brother's death, about the family he was protecting, about the cousin who wanted him destroyed, changed everything I thought I understood about power. The contract said this was temporary, but some arrangements don't end just because the paperwork says they should. Especially when you realize the man you married for survival is the only person who's ever seen you as more than a transaction. The Lunar New Year gala was supposed to be the finish line. Instead, it became the beginning of a war I didn't know I was fighting. And the truth about Do-yoon's brother, the helicopter crash that killed him, the evidence locked in a grandfather clock, the cousin who survived when he shouldn't have, that truth didn't just shock me. It rewrote everything. But here's what nobody tells you about marrying into power. The contract protects you from losing money. It doesn't protect you from the moment you realize you'd lose everything else to stay. And by the time I understood that, it was already too late to walk away. I was 3 months pregnant and completely alone the night I met Baek Do-yoon at the Chelsea Art Collective Winter Exhibition in London. I shouldn't have been there. The invitation came from Harrington Estate Planning, the firm that let me go 2 weeks after I told them I was expecting. My ex-boyfriend, the venture capitalist who promised forever, had blocked my number and moved to Singapore the day I showed him the positive test. My savings account was bleeding out, and pride was the only thing stopping me from calling my parents in Atlanta and admitting I'd failed. I stood in front of a twisted chrome sculpture labeled Corporate Ambition when I heard the quiet whir behind me. "It's grotesque, isn't it?" I turned. The man in the wheelchair was maybe late 30s, wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my rent. Custom midnight blue wheelchair with gold accents. A watch on his wrist I recognized from an estate client's appraisal. Patek Philippe Grandmaster chime. Over £2 million. "I think it's supposed to be provocative," I said. "Mission accomplished." He extended his hand. "Baek Do-yoon. Kaliyah Rosewood." His handshake was firm. His eyes, in sharp behind frameless glasses, studied me like he was reading a balance sheet. "You don't look like you're enjoying yourself, Ms. Rosewood." I laughed despite everything. "Is it that obvious?" "Only to someone who'd rather be anywhere else." He gestured toward the exit. "There's a private lounge upstairs. Kensington Circle Club. Members only. Better wine, fewer conversations about deconstructed capitalism. Interested?" I should have said no. I said yes. 3 hours later, in that club where the wealthy went to be human, Do-yoon told me about his family's empire. Baek Industries. Shipping, real estate, technology. His grandfather built it from a single textile factory in Busan. I told him about estate planning, about protecting legacies. I told him about being pregnant and alone. Family is complicated, he said quietly, rotating that expensive watch. Especially when money and legacy are involved. Is that your situation? He smiled, but his eyes stayed cold. My grandfather is 92, failing health. He's obsessed with securing the family line. There's a clause in the corporate charter. The chairman position can only pass to a married heir with children. He paused. My cousin Ji-hwan is married with a son. I'm unmarried and childless. My grandfather gave me until the Lunar New Year Gala in Seoul, February 15th. If I show up alone, Ji-hwan takes everything. Outside the windows, London glittered. This is going to sound insane, Do-yoon said. But I have a proposal, a business proposal. 2 weeks later, I signed a contract for £500,000, a Seoul penthouse, and a £5 million trust fund for my baby. In exchange, I married a man I barely knew. 3 days after the wedding, I boarded his private jet. As we descended toward Seoul, his phone lit up. A message from someone named Grandfather Jinwoo. Ji-hwan knows you married. He is asking questions. Come home immediately. Do-yoon's jaw tightened. Welcome to the family, he said quietly. If you were desperate and pregnant, would you sign that contract? Comment yes or walk away. Subscribe because what Kaliyah discovers in Seoul will change everything. Also, tell us where you're watching from today. The Baek family estate in Seongbuk-dong looked like old Korean royalty merged with modern wealth. Traditional curved roof lines, inner courtyard gardens, staff members who bowed without making eye contact. Do-yoon's hand found mine in the car. Not romantic. Steadying. My grandfather will test you, he said. Just be honest. About the contract? About everything else. Grandfather Jinwoo received us in his private study. 92 years old, spine straight, eyes that missed nothing. The room smelled like leather and old paper. Behind him were shelves of identical notebooks. Decades of them. So you are the one who captured my grandson's heart, he said in perfect English. Welcome, Kaliyah. I'd prepared for interrogation. Instead, he asked about my pregnancy, my health, my parents in Atlanta. He showed me photographs of Do-yoon's brother and nieces. Then he pulled down one of the leather notebooks. 4 generations of family decisions, he said. Births, marriages, business acquisitions, disputes. I record them all personally. Your name will be added when I'm certain you belong here. He opened the book. His handwriting filled every page, precise and careful. Do you know why I require my chairman to be married with children, Kaliyah? To ensure succession, I said. To ensure humanity. He closed the book. A man with a family understands sacrifice. A man with a legacy understands consequence. Power without these anchors becomes cruelty. He looked at Do-yoon, then back at me. Why did you marry my grandson? The truth or the lie? I chose something in between. I was desperate. He offered security, but he also offered dignity when he could have just offered money. That matters to me. Grandfather Jinwoo studied me for a long moment. Then he closed the notebook without writing anything. Ji-hwan has called a family dinner for tomorrow night, he said. He tells me he has concerns about your marriage. Concerns the whole family should hear. Do-yoon's hand tightened on his wheelchair armrest. Grandfather, Ji-hwan doesn't have standing to... He has standing because he is family. Grandfather Jinwoo stood. We will hear his concerns. Then I will decide if your marriage is legitimate. After we left, in the car back to our penthouse, I finally asked, what happens if he decides it's not legitimate? Do-yoon stared out the window at Seoul's lights. Then Ji-hwan becomes chairman, and you and I become the family scandal that everyone pretends never happened. His phone buzzed. A message from someone named Sunmi. Looking forward to meeting the American tomorrow night. Ji-hwan says she's quite remarkable. Do-yoon deleted it without responding. Who's Sunmi? I asked. Ji-hwan's wife. She's strategic, ambitious, and she's never sent me a message before in her life. He looked at me. They're coming for us, Kaliyah, and we have less than 24 hours to prepare. The family dinner was held in the main house's formal dining room. 18 people, crystal chandeliers, table long enough to seat a corporate board. Ji-hwan sat directly across from us. He was everything Do-yoon wasn't. Loud confidence, easy smile, the kind of man who commanded rooms without trying. His wife Sunmi sat beside him, perfectly composed in a cream silk dress. Cousin, Ji-hwan said, raising his wineglass. Congratulations on your marriage. We were all so surprised by the news. Sometimes the best things arrive unexpectedly, Do-yoon replied calmly. His hand found mine under the table, squeezed once. Unexpectedly, indeed. Ji-hwan leaned forward. 3 months pregnant when you met, married 3 weeks later, just in time for grandfather's deadline. Some might call that convenient. The room went silent. Grandfather Jin-woo sat at the head of the table, expression unreadable. Sunmi smiled at me, sharp. We've heard rumors, Kaliyah, about your situation in London, about the father of your child. My throat tightened. Do-yoon started to speak, but I cut him off. Yes. I was pregnant when we met. Yes, my previous relationship ended badly. Do-yoon knows everything. He chose me anyway. I placed my hand over my belly. This child will be a Baek, raised with love and protection. That's what matters. Love, Ji-hwan repeated. Is that what this is? Because from where I'm sitting, this looks like desperation meeting opportunity. You needed money. Do-yoon needed a wife. Very transactional. You speak of transactions? Do-yoon's voice stayed level, but something dangerous moved beneath it. You run the consumer division like a profit engine. You've proposed selling the heritage properties 3 times in board meetings. You see the family legacy as an asset to liquidate. Ji-hwan's smile tightened. I see it as a business to grow, not a museum to worship. Enough! Grandfather's fist hit the table. The sound cracked through the room like a gunshot. Ji-hwan, your jealousy dishonors this family. Do-yoon has followed his heart and fulfilled his duty. This discussion is closed. But Ji-hwan's eyes stayed on me. Of course, grandfather, I apologize. The dinner continued. Polite, tense. As we were leaving, Sunmi caught my arm in the hallway. Her grip was firm. That was a beautiful speech, she whispered. I almost believed it myself. She released me and walked away. In the car, Do-yoon's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number, an audio file, 30 seconds long. He pressed play. My voice, a business proposal? Do-yoon's voice, a contract marriage. Someone had recorded us. In London, at the Kensington Circle Club. And now they had proof. Do-yoon drove us north that night, 3 hours to the family's coastal estate perched on cliffs overlooking the East Sea. We need distance from Seoul, he said. Time to think. The estate was smaller than the main compound. Traditional stone and wood, private, the kind of place where decisions were made without witnesses. Inside, floor-to-ceiling windows framed the black water and stars. Who recorded us? I asked. I don't know. He wheeled to the window. The Kensington Circle has strict privacy rules. Someone broke them deliberately. To give Ji-hwan ammunition. Yes. I sat on the floor beside his wheelchair, close enough to touch but not touching. What happens now? Do-yoon was quiet for a long time. His hand rotated that expensive watch. his tell when he was thinking. "There's a family rule," he said finally. "The consequence rule. Once a truth is revealed publicly, the person who spoke it cannot defend themselves. Others must defend them, or the truth stands alone." Meaning? Meaning, if Ji-hwan plays that recording in front of grandfather and the family, neither of us can explain. We can't say our feelings changed. We can't argue that what started as a contract became something real. Any defense we offer will look desperate. My chest tightened. So we're just supposed to stay silent? Unless someone else defends us first. He looked at me. And why would they? You're an outsider. I'm the spare who was never supposed to matter. The ocean crashed against the cliffs below. Your brother, I said quietly. You said the helicopter crash killed him, but you never talk about what happened. Do-yoon's jaw tightened. It wasn't just an accident. There were questions about the helicopter's maintenance. Whispers about corporate sabotage that were never investigated. My grandfather shut it down to avoid dividing the family. Do you think someone caused it? I think my brother discovered something that made him dangerous. And 3 days before he planned to confront the board, his helicopter fell from the sky. His voice cracked on the last word. I took his hand. We'll find out what happened. Together. He pulled me closer, his forehead resting against mine. Ji-hwan was piloting that helicopter. He whispered. He survived because he grabbed my brother's emergency vest by mistake. They were the same size. My blood went cold. Do-yoon? His phone buzzed. A message from Mr. Choi, the family lawyer. Ji-hwan has requested an emergency family meeting, tomorrow morning. He says he has evidence of marriage fraud. If you discovered your husband's cousin might have killed his brother, would you stay silent or investigate? Comment silent or investigate. Like and subscribe because tomorrow's meeting will force Kaliyah to choose a side. When the emergency family meeting was held at the original Baek Industries factory in Busan. The textile plant where grandfather started with nothing 70 years ago? Now, it was a private museum. Family history preserved behind glass. We arrived at dawn. Ji-hwan and Sun-mi were already there. So were the division heads, the corporate lawyers, and family members I'd never met. Grandfather Jin-woo stood at the center of the room. Frail but unbowed. In his hands, the leather succession notebook. I have heard the recording, he said in Korean. Do-yoon translated quietly beside me. I have read the contract. I have prayed at your grandmother's grave. The room was silent. Kaliyah and Do-yoon's marriage began as a business arrangement. This is true. Ji-hwan's expression stayed carefully neutral. Concerned, not triumphant. But I ask you, grandfather continued, how did my own marriage begin? My father arranged it. I met my wife twice before our wedding. We signed contracts, negotiated dowries, merged family interests. He looked at each of us. Does this make our 53 years together invalid? Does this make the love we built false? Ji-hwan's face went pale. Marriage, like business, requires commitment, sacrifice, the willingness to build something greater than yourself. I see this in Do-yoon and Kaliyah. I see them honoring our traditions while bringing new strength. Grandfather turned to Ji-hwan. What I see in you, grandson, is ambition without wisdom. You recorded private conversations. You scheme and divide this family. You have shown me who you are, and I am disappointed. He opened the succession notebook. His hand shook as he wrote, I record here, on this date, that Baek Do-yoon and Kaliyah Rosewood are recognized as legitimate heirs. Their child will be my great-grandchild with all rights and privileges. The succession will proceed as planned. Ji-hwan stood abruptly. Grandfather, You're making a mistake. She's manipulating him, manipulating you. Enough! Grandfather's voice cracked like thunder. Then he crossed to the corner of the room, to an antique grandfather clock locked behind glass. This clock opens once each year, he said, on the anniversary of my wife's death, which is 3 days from now. He looked at Do-yoon. Your brother left something inside it, something he wanted me to find if anything happened to him. My blood ran cold. What's inside? Do-yoon asked. The truth about the helicopter crash. If you found evidence that could destroy your family, would you open it? Comment open or protect. Subscribe because what's inside that clock will change everything. Tell us where you're watching from. 2 days before the clock opened, Sunmi invited me to tea at the Grand Joseon Hotel. The same venue where the Lunar New Year Gala would be held. Private room, oolong tea in porcelain cups. Her smile was practiced. You handled the meeting well, she said. Very composed. Thank you. But composure isn't the same as understanding. She poured tea carefully. The Heritage Properties Division alone is worth $8 billion. The shipping contracts supply half of Southeast Asia. This isn't romance, Kaliyah. This is empire. I understand that. Do you? She leaned forward. That recording proves you married Do-yoon for money. Grandfather may have accepted it, but the board hasn't. The shareholders haven't. One wrong move, and they'll remove Do-yoon before he ever takes the chairman position. My phone buzzed. Do-yoon calling. I didn't answer. Sunmi noticed. He checks on you constantly, like he's afraid you'll disappear. Is there a point to this? The point is that you should leave. Quietly. Take your settlement. Let this family heal. Ji-hwan has worked his entire life for this position. Do-yoon never even wanted it until you showed up. That's not true. Isn't it? Her smile sharpened. Ask him yourself. Ask him what he really wants. Because I guarantee it's not boardrooms and family wars and a position his grandfather is forcing on him. She stood. The clock opens tomorrow. Whatever is inside will either prove Do-yoon's right to lead or destroy him completely. You need to decide which side you're on. After she left, I finally called Do-yoon back. Where are you? His voice was tight. Grand Joseon, Sunmi wanted to talk. About what? About whether you actually want to be chairman. Silence. Do-yoon? Come home, he said quietly. There's something I need to tell you. Something I should have said in London. When I arrived at the penthouse, he was staring at his brother's photograph on the wall. I found my brother's last voicemail, he said. The one he left the morning of the crash. He pressed play. His brother's voice filled the room. Do-yoon, if you're hearing this, I'm dead. And Ji-hwan killed me. Would you believe a dead man's accusation, or would you need proof? Comment, believe, or proof. Like and subscribe, because tomorrow the clock opens and the truth comes out. The grandfather clock would open in 18 hours. Do-yoon played his brother's voicemail 3 more times. Each time, the words hit harder. If you're hearing this, I'm dead. And Ji-hwan killed me. This isn't proof, I said. It's an accusation. It's enough to start asking questions. Do-yoon's phone rang. Mr. Choi, the family lawyer. Sir, the board has moved up the succession vote. They're citing instability concerns. The vote happens tomorrow night, immediately following the clock opening. If you're not confirmed as chairman by midnight, the position defaults to Ji-hwan per charter terms. Do-yoon hung up. They're forcing the issue, he said quietly. That's when someone knocked on the penthouse door. Mr. Kang, the family driver. 70 years old? I'd never heard him say more than 2 words. May I come in? Do-yoon gestured him inside. Mr. Kang stood in the center of our living room, hands folded. I drove your brother the morning he died. He asked me to deliver a message if anything happened to him. My heart stopped. He told me he discovered financial irregularities in the Consumer Innovations Division. Money moving through shell companies, contracts awarded to vendors that didn't exist. He was planning to confront Ji-hwan that afternoon? Why didn't you tell anyone? Do-yoon's voice was raw. Because he asked me to wait. He said if he confronted Ji-hwan and nothing happened, the family would fracture over suspicion. But if something did happen to him, then I should tell you. Only you. Mr. Kang pulled an envelope from his jacket. He said the proof is in the clock. Financial documents, recorded conversations. Everything needed to remove Ji-hwan from the company. Do-yoon took the envelope with shaking hands. Your brother also said that Ji-hwan didn't mean for the helicopter to crash. He was trying to destroy evidence, not commit murder. But the result is the same. Mr. Kang bowed and left. I looked at Do-yoon. What are you going to do? I don't know. If I expose Ji-hwan, I destroy him. If I stay silent, I let my brother's death mean nothing? His phone buzzed. A message from grandfather. The clock opens at dawn. All family members must attend. Do-yoon's hand found mine. Whatever happens tomorrow, I need you to know something. This stopped being about the contract weeks ago. I know, I whispered. Do you? Before I could answer, the penthouse elevator dinged. Security stepped out. Mrs. Baek, you need to come with us. There's been a medical emergency. The medical emergency was grandfather Jinwoo. Chest pain. Rushed to the private hospital wing at Samsung Medical Center. By the time we arrived, Ji-hwan and Sunmi were already in the waiting room. Stress-induced, the doctor said. His heart is weak. Any additional pressure could be catastrophic. Ji-hwan looked at Do-yoon. We should postpone the clock opening, postpone the vote, give him time to recover. No. Grandfather's voice came from the hospital bed behind us. Weak but firm. We opened the clock at dawn, as planned. Grandfather, your health. My health is failing regardless, but my mind is clear. And I will see what my grandson left for me before I die. The doctor protested. Grandfather ignored him. At dawn, we gathered at the Busan Factory Museum. Grandfather in a wheelchair, portable oxygen beside him. The family lawyer, division heads, Ji-hwan and Sunmi, Do-yoon and me. The antique grandfather clock stood in the center of the room. Grandfather produced a key from inside his jacket. His hands shook as he unlocked the glass case. The clock's face showed the date, February 12th, the anniversary of his wife's death, the anniversary of the helicopter crash. He opened the clock's door. Inside were 3 items, a leather folder, a flash drive, and a handwritten letter. If you were Do-yoon, would you read it out loud or keep it private? Comment, read, or private. Subscribe because what's inside will destroy someone in this room. Grandfather opened the letter first. His eyes scanned the pages. Then he looked up at Ji-hwan. You knew about the financial fraud. Ji-hwan's face went pale. Grandfather, I can explain. My grandson wrote that you were trying to hide evidence, that you sabotaged the helicopter's navigation system to destroy documents you'd hidden on board. You didn't mean to kill him. But you did. The room went silent. That's not... Ji-hwan stepped forward. He was paranoid, stressed. He was seeing conspiracies that didn't exist. The flash drive contains proof, Grandfather said quietly. Financial records, recorded conversations, your signature on falsified contracts. Ji-hwan looked at Sunmi. She looked away. The board vote is cancelled, grandfather said. Ji-hwan, you are removed from the consumer division effective immediately. Do-yoon will assume chairmanship tonight. Ji-hwan's voice cracked. You're believing a dead man's paranoia over your living grandson? I'm believing evidence. Then grandfather's hand went to his chest. His face twisted. The oxygen monitor started screaming, and I felt a sharp, sudden pain in my abdomen. I looked down. Blood. I woke up in a private hospital room with Do-yoon asleep in a chair beside my bed, his hand wrapped around mine. A doctor stood at the foot of the bed. You have a placental issue. Complete bed rest until delivery. Any stress could trigger premature labor. How far along am I? 24 weeks. If the baby comes now, survival is uncertain. Do-yoon's eyes opened. What does she need? Rest. Calm. No emotional upheaval. The doctor left. Do-yoon moved his wheelchair closer. I'm canceling the chairmanship. Stepping back from everything. No. Kaliyah. Your brother died for this. Grandfather almost died proving the truth. You don't walk away now. I won't risk you. His phone buzzed. 20 missed calls. Texts from board members, lawyers, division heads. The company was in crisis. Grandfather was in ICU. Ji-hwan had lawyered up and was threatening defamation suits. Go, I said. Handle it. I'm not leaving you. You have to. A nurse came in with medication. Do-yoon stayed while I took it? Stayed while I fell asleep. When I woke hours later, he was still there. Sunmi appeared in the doorway. Without Ji-hwan. Can I come in? I nodded. She sat in the chair opposite Do-yoon. I didn't know about the financial fraud. I swear. Ji-hwan told me the helicopter crash was investigated and cleared. Why are you telling me this? Because I've been married to him for 12 years. And in all that time, he's never visited me in the hospital during any of my 3 difficult pregnancies. He sent flowers, assistance, but never himself. Her voice cracked. Do-yoon hasn't left your side in 18 hours. That tells me everything I need to know about who deserves to lead this family. She stood to leave, then paused. Ji-hwan is planning something. I don't know what. But he's meeting with lawyers and board members who opposed your marriage. Be careful. After she left, Do-yoon's phone rang. Mr. Choi. Sir, Ji-hwan is filing for emergency guardianship of grandfather on grounds of diminished mental capacity. If he succeeds, he controls the company until grandfather recovers or dies. Do-yoon's face went white. The hearing is tomorrow morning. You need to be there. I looked at Do-yoon. Go. The doctor said, I'll be fine for a few hours. You have to fight this. He kissed my forehead. I'll be back before you wake up. But when I woke at midnight, he wasn't there. And my phone had 17 missed calls from a number I didn't recognize. Would you answer those calls or ignore them? Comment, answer, or ignore. Subscribe because what happens next will test everything they've built. The number called again. I answered. Mrs. Baek? A woman's voice, professional, cold. This is Attorney Han from Ji-hwan's legal team. We'd like to discuss a settlement offer. I'm not interested. You should be. We're prepared to offer you full custody of your child. $10 million and a confidentiality agreement. In exchange, you testify that Do-yoon coerced you into the marriage contract. My blood went cold. If you refuse, we'll subpoena the original contract and present it as evidence of Do-yoon's unsuitability for leadership. We'll argue he's manipulative, desperate, and willing to commit fraud to secure power. That's not what happened. But it's what a judge will see, especially when we present the recording from London. She paused. You have until tomorrow's hearing to decide. Think about your baby, Mrs. Beck. Think about what's best for her. She hung up. I called Do-yoon. No answer. Called again. Voicemail. A nurse came in to check vitals. Everything okay? I need to leave. Absolutely not. Doctor's orders. My husband is walking into a legal trap, and I'm the only one who can stop it. She left to get the doctor. I got dressed, grabbed my phone, called the one person who might actually help. Soon-mi answered on the first ring. Ji-hwan's lawyers called me. I said, they want me to testify against Do-yoon. Silence. Soon-mi? He told me he was protecting the family. He said Do-yoon was unstable, that the marriage was fake, that grandfather was being manipulated. Do you believe that? I don't know what I believe anymore. Then believe this. I love your husband's cousin. Not because of a contract, not because of money, because he's a good man trying to honor his brother's memory. And if Ji-hwan destroys him tomorrow, well, you'll spend the rest of your life married to someone who chose power over truth. Soon-mi was quiet for a long time. The hearing is at 9 a.m. Gangnam Family Court, Courtroom 3. Will you be there? I don't know. She hung up. I made it to the hospital elevator before the pain hit. Sharp, sudden, radiating through my abdomen. I collapsed against the wall. A security guard ran over. Ma'am, stay with me. Everything went black. When I woke up, I was back in the hospital bed. And Do-yoon was standing in the doorway with grandfather Jinwoo's succession notebook in his hands. The Lunar New Year gala happened anyway. The doctor cleared me under strict conditions. No standing for more than 10 minutes. No stress. Immediate evacuation if needed. Do-yoon wanted to cancel. Grandfather insisted from his hospital bed that the family couldn't show weakness. 300 guests, Seoul's most powerful business leaders and politicians. White and purple orchids everywhere, his grandmother's favorites. I wore a gown that honored both my pregnancy and Korean formal tradition. Do-yoon stayed beside me, his hand steady on my wheelchair's armrest. Grandfather had announced he would make no speeches tonight. He would simply observe. The silent gala rule. No words, only actions would be judged. Ji-hwan arrived with Soon-mi. He looked composed, confident, like a man who'd weathered a storm and survived. He worked the room flawlessly, shaking hands, listening intently, making people laugh. Several board members nodded approvingly as he passed. He's campaigning, I whispered to Do-yoon. Let him. A major donor approached us. Chairman Park from Hanwha Group. Do-yoon, I heard concerning rumors about the Heritage Properties Division. Ji-hwan mentioned potential liquidation to raise capital for expansion. Every head nearby turned. Do-yoon's voice stayed calm. The Heritage Properties Division represents our family's commitment to community legacy. It will never be sold while I have influence. Direct contradiction. Public. Undeniable. Chairman Park studied Do-yoon's face, then nodded slowly and walked away. Ji-hwan's smile tightened from across the room. The charity auction began. The featured item was a rare art collection worth $8 million. Donated anonymously. The auctioneer opened the catalog. His face went pale. He whispered to an assistant. The assistant hurried backstage. Do-yoon's phone buzzed. A text from Mr. Choi. The art collection is fraudulent. Copies, not originals. Donation came through a shell company linked to consumer division partnerships. My stomach dropped. Ji-hwan's donation. His signature moment. About to explode publicly. Do-yoon could expose him right now. In front of everyone who mattered. Instead, he stood. Wheeled to the front of the room. There's been a catalog error, he announced calmly. The featured item needs authentication verification. The Baek family will replace it with a direct contribution of $10 million to the children's hospital. Applause. Ji-hwan's face showed relief, then confusion. Do-yoon had just saved him. After the gala, grandfather called both of them to a private room. Ji-hwan, you accepted help tonight to avoid humiliation, grandfather said quietly. But accepting help hides what refusing it would have revealed. He looked at Do-yoon. You could have destroyed your cousin. You chose mercy instead. That is leadership. Grandfather opened the succession notebook. He wrote for several minutes, then closed it without showing them. One of you has already failed this test. The other doesn't yet know he's passed. Grandfather's words hung in the air for 3 days. Ji-hwan stopped attending family dinners. Sunmi sent a formal apology through lawyers, but her eyes at the gala had promised something else. Do-yoon threw himself into transition work. Board meetings, division reviews, 18-hour days. I barely saw him. When he finally came home at 2 a.m. on the 4th night, I was awake. You're avoiding me, I said. He stopped in the doorway. I'm trying to prove grandfather right. About what? About choosing me. About believing our marriage was real. He moved closer. Kaliyah, if I become chairman, my life is consumed. Constant travel, impossible decisions, pressure that will test everything we've built. And if you're not chosen? Then we're free. We can build a life outside this family's expectations. Raise your daughter somewhere quiet. Be normal. I understood then. He wasn't sure which outcome he wanted more. Do you love me? I asked. Yes. Do you trust me? Yes. Then trust me when I say you're meant for this. Not because of duty. Because you understand that power is responsibility, not privilege. He pulled me close, careful of my belly. I'm scared. Me too. His phone rang. Grandfather. Come to Busan, both of you. I've made my decision. The drive took 3 hours. Grandfather waited in the old factory museum, frail but present. Ji-hwan was already there. I'm choosing Do-yoon as chairman, grandfather said simply. Not because he wanted power most, because he understood when to refuse it. Leadership is knowing when mercy matters more than victory. Ji-hwan's face crumbled. What did I do wrong? You did everything right for the wrong reasons. Leadership is not performance. It's character under pressure when no one's watching. Grandfather revealed he'd known about the contract marriage from the beginning. That watching Do-yoon and me transform obligation into genuine partnership showed him more about Do-yoon's capacity for growth than any business decision could. Ji-hwan asked permission to resign, to pursue opportunities outside the family structure. That is the first honest decision you've made, grandfather said. But not today. Today, you'll learn to follow before you can lead. Later, in the car back to Seoul, Do-yoon held my hand. Thank you. For what? For seeing me when I couldn't see myself. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. A text. Congratulations on the chairmanship. Your daughter's father sends his regards from Singapore. We should talk about custody. The man who abandoned me. Coming back now that Do-yoon had power? I showed Do-yoon the message. His jaw tightened. He has no legal claim. He's her biological father. And I'm her father by choice. There's a difference. Grandfather called Do-yoon and Ji-hwan to Busan the next morning. Not the factory museum this time. The original family home overlooking the harbor. I wasn't invited. Neither was Sunmi. Do-yoon kissed my forehead before leaving. Whatever happens today, we face it together. But I couldn't shake the feeling that some decisions had to be made alone. He called me 6 hours later. Grandfather asked us what we would sacrifice for leadership, not what we'd gain, what we'd give up. What did Ji-hwan say? That he'd sacrifice leisure, privacy, personal ambition. It sounded noble. Grandfather's face showed nothing. What did you say? Do-yoon was quiet for a moment. I said I'd sacrifice certainty. That I don't know if I'm the right choice. If I want this life. If I can be the leader my brother was. But the family deserves someone willing to question themselves. To prioritize legacy over ego. To choose difficulty over comfort. My throat tightened. What did grandfather say? He wrote in the succession notebook for 10 minutes. Then closed it without showing us. He said one of us had already failed the test. The other doesn't yet know he's passed. That night, grandfather called a formal family meeting. Everyone present. Division heads, board members, extended family. He stood at the head of the table, frail, but commanding. I name Baek Do-yoon as chairman of Baek Industries, effective immediately. Ji-hwan's face stayed carefully blank. This decision is not about capability. Ji-hwan is brilliant, strategic, hardworking. But leadership requires something more. It requires understanding when to refuse power offered too early. When to choose mercy over victory. When to build rather than perform. Grandfather looked at Ji-hwan directly. You have spent your life preparing for a position you don't yet understand. Do-yoon has spent his life questioning whether he deserves it. That difference matters. The room was silent. Ji-hwan stood. I request permission to resign from the consumer division. Denied. You will stay. You will learn to follow before you lead. And perhaps one day, you'll understand what leadership actually costs. Ji-hwan sat back down. Grandfather turned to Do-yoon. The succession notebook is yours now. Record not just business decisions, but personal wisdom. Leave something for your daughter to read when she's old enough to understand. Do-yoon accepted the notebook with shaking hands. Outside, my phone buzzed again. The biological father. I'm in Seoul. We need to talk about my daughter. Tomorrow. Shilla Hotel, noon. If someone abandoned you and came back when you had power, would you meet them or ignore them? Comment, meet, or ignore. Subscribe because tomorrow's meeting will force a choice that changes everything. I didn't tell Do-yoon about the message. I should have. But he'd just accepted the chairmanship. Board meetings, press conferences, transition planning. He was drowning in responsibility. So, I went alone. The Shilla Hotel lounge, private corner table. Marcus looked exactly the same. Expensive suit, confident smile. The man who'd blocked my number and fled to Singapore when I told him I was pregnant. Kaliyah, you look well. I didn't sit. What do you want? To discuss custody arrangements. I have rights as her biological father. You have no rights. You abandoned us. I was scared. I made a mistake. He leaned forward. But I'm ready now, and frankly, given your situation, a judge might question whether your marriage is stable enough for sole custody. My blood went cold. Are you threatening me? I'm being realistic. You married a disabled man you barely knew through a contract arrangement. There's a recording proving it was transactional. A good lawyer could argue you prioritized financial security over stable parenting. Get out. Think about it, Kaliyah. Joint custody, generous child support from me, freedom from a marriage you were pressured into. You don't have to stay trapped just because he has money now. I stood. Do-yoon didn't trap me. He gave me dignity when you gave me nothing. He chose my daughter when you rejected her. He's her father. You're just biology. I turned to leave. Marcus grabbed my wrist. You're making a mistake. Let go of her. Do-yoon's voice, cold, controlled. He was in the doorway, Mr. Kang behind him. Marcus released me immediately. Mr. Chen, Do-yoon said calmly. You have no legal claim to Kaliyah's daughter. No parental rights under Korean or American law. If you pursue this, our legal team will ensure you regret it. She's my biological child. Biology is not parenthood. Leave Seoul tonight, or we'll make your abandonment very public. Singapore has business communities too. Small ones, where reputation matters. Marcus's face went pale. He left without another word. Do-yoon turned to me. Why didn't you tell me? You just became chairman. I didn't want to add more pressure. Kaliyah, we're partners. That means sharing burdens, not carrying them alone. His hand found mine. I choose you, every time. Contract or no contract, baby or no baby, that's never been a question. I started to respond when pain shot through my abdomen. Sharp, sudden, undeniable. Do-yoon? Water, blood, panic. She's in labor, Mr. Kang said. 3 weeks early. The baby was coming, and we were 15 minutes from the hospital. The baby came 3 weeks early at Samsung Medical Center. 7 hours of labor. Do-yoon never left the room. When they placed her in my arms, she was perfect. 5 pounds, 4 ounces, dark eyes, strong lungs. Do-yoon stared at her like she was the only thing that mattered in the world. She needs a name, the nurse said. I looked at Do-yoon. Your grandmother's name, what was it? Minseo. Then that's her name. Kaliyah Rosewood Baek. He touched her tiny hand. She gripped his finger. Hello, Minseo, he whispered. I'm your father. Not stepfather, not guardian, father. The succession notebook sat on the table beside the hospital bed. Do-yoon had brought it with him. Grandfather said to record personal wisdom, he said quietly, not just business decisions. He opened to the first blank page and began to write. I couldn't see the words, but I saw his hand shake, saw him pause, saw him choose each word carefully. When he finished, he showed me. Leadership is not control, it is service. Power is not about what you can take. It is about what you choose to protect. Love is not possession, it is partnership. I learned this from my wife. I will teach it to my daughter. Tears blurred my vision. That's beautiful. It's true. Soon we visited the next day, alone. She held Minseo carefully, like something precious she was afraid to break. I told Ji-hwan I want a separation, she said quietly. Not divorce, just distance. Time to figure out if our marriage was ever real or just another performance. What did he say? That he understood, that watching you and Do-yoon made him realize he'd been performing his entire life, that he doesn't know who he is without an audience. She handed Minseo back to me. Thank you. For what? For showing me what real partnership looks like. After she left, Do-yoon's phone buzzed. A message from Mr. Kang. Sir, there's a situation. Ji-hwan has called a private board meeting. He's not requesting removal. He's requesting something else. You should see this. Do-yoon opened the attached document. His face went still. What is it? I asked. He showed me the screen. A formal proposal, signed by Ji-hwan, requesting restructuring of the consumer division under Do-yoon's direct oversight, requesting his own demotion, and requesting permission to work directly with Do-yoon to investigate the remaining financial irregularities his actions had created. He's surrendering, I whispered. No, Do-yoon said quietly. He's finally choosing truth over image. The phone buzzed again. Unknown number. A video file. Do-yoon pressed play. Grandfather Jin-woo's face filled the screen. Recorded weeks ago. Before the gala. Before everything. If you are watching this, I am gone, and you are chairman. Remember, Do-yoon, that power is temporary. Legacy is eternal. Protect what matters. Love fearlessly. Lead with mercy. The video ended. Do-yoon's hand found mine. Min-seo slept peacefully between us. And for the first time since London, I felt safe. But safety in this family never lasted long. Because 3 days later, grandfather's lawyer arrived with a second envelope. One grandfather had sealed himself, with instructions that it could only be opened by Do-yoon and Ji-hwan together, and whatever was inside would test everything they'd just rebuilt. Subscribe if you want to know what grandfather's final secret was, because some truths change families forever. Comment open or burn if you think they should read it.